This is where it gets really interesting because two people can have this same exact moment, but experience it entirely differently. The reality hasn't changed, but the way they're experiencing that reality changes. Those were some of my darkest days where I was literally having hot flashes. I was breaking out in hives. I had a lump in my throat all day. Almost every entrepreneur that I've worked with has at one point in time carried one specific belief around selling. And it's something that corrodes your business from the inside out. The number one lie that is stalling sales is now the trash can or the trash people are here. Just the amount of opposition I've had trying to record this one video is literally crazy. And now I see a vulture in the tree. This must really be an important message that I need to get out. So we're going to make it happen. Sales aren't slow because you're bad at selling. They're slow because your perception of selling is stalling momentum. Most people think that they need a better sales strategy. Our brain tends to gravitate towards the things that we can make sense of, the things that logically seem like the best fit solution. And as a strategic individual, type A individual who is very organized, I'll create a detailed roadmap for you anytime. I am in the weeds of strategy every single day in my business with clients. What I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt is that what you think about selling will always determine how effective your sales strategy is. Your perception around selling matters before you ever get to the strategy. I've worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs all across the globe in all different industries over the last 8 to 9 years. And I have seen certain clients sell 100,000 plus deals with ease, with the blink of an eye. And then I've seen some clients and students struggle to sell $100 products. And often the major difference between the two is not the strategy. It's not the detailed roadmap. It's not the blueprint. It's not making sure you have the right amount of tactics at play. It's the perception around selling. It's what you think about selling that determines whether or not you sell in the first place. And then from there, how effectively you do sell. I think about one of our clients that recently landed a contract for $140,000. The reason that came with such ease for her was because she believed at the core that what she was selling was a no-brainer fit solution for the client. So when the client came to her with questions about all of these different things she needed help with, all outside of the scope of their original work together, her brain didn't go towards, oh, I don't want to overwhelm her. I don't want to make her feel like she's being pushed in a certain direction. I don't want to manipulate her. She didn't have any of that come front and center. Instead, her perception of selling is largely rooted in value and service. So her brain automatically went towards, oh, wow, I can help you with that. Here's how we could do that. Or here are the different services that we could add on. Let me know if you want to talk about that. Let me create a package for you. All from a heart postured for service. She didn't have to deal with maneuvering through all of those muddied beliefs and perceptions around selling that would cause her to slow the process down. And ultimately, what I'm going to get at today is that there is one specific lie that most every entrepreneur has believed or currently believes about selling that stalls your sales and slows momentum. I'm going to reveal that to you, and we're going to dismantle it all together. From there, you get to have a strong foundation to work with when you build your sales strategy. That's the beautiful thing. We get to really strengthen your foundation before you ever bring in the tactics, the strategy, the road mapping, all of which become important. They do become important in making you just set up for success to move effectively, track your progress, refine your approach. But all of that needs to be built on a firm foundation. So perception matters because it determines your behavior. And your behavior is what ultimately produces results, whether those results are desired or undesired. So perception is really the deeper root that we need to get to. So I want you to imagine with me for a second. It's a Saturday morning. You wake up, the weather is gorgeous, the sun is shining, you've got blue skies, the temperature is perfect. You go for a walk. You're alone. You're in your neighborhood. You're walking down the street and you see a neighbor with a dog that you don't know, that you don't recognize. Maybe it's a new dog they purchased. They're coming towards you quickly. In that moment, your brain makes a split decision. And this is where it gets really interesting because two people can have this same exact moment, but experience it entirely differently. The reality of what's happening hasn't changed, but the way they're experiencing that reality changes. So if you are someone who maybe you grew up with dogs in your home, all throughout your childhood, you guys always had dogs running around, maybe you lived on a farm, you're going to see that dog and likely light up. You'll have a smile come on your face. You will approach them. You might ask if you can pet the dog, bend down, kneel beside it, and make a new friend. But if you're someone who maybe you got bit by a dog in your childhood, or maybe you grew up with this belief that dogs are always unpredictable. That, by the way, didn't even have to be your own experience for you to believe that. It could have been something that perhaps your parents ingrained in you. You are going to experience that moment entirely differently. You're going to see that dog. Maybe you tense up. Your heart is going to start pounding. Maybe you even decide to run away. In this example, you have the same dog. You have the same exact moment, but there's completely different behavior happening. And the reason for this is because you're not always reacting to what is in front of you, readily available, the things you can see with your physical eyes. Your brain is interpreting the reality in front of you through the lens of what you've experienced in your life up until this point. So think about your experiences, your beliefs, your expectations, the meaning that you have attached to things over time. And in this example, the meaning that you've attached to dogs over time. So your perception quite literally becomes your reality. And because your perception feels so real, your behavior is going to follow that. So even if that dog was the nicest dog on the planet, if your perception is that that dog is dangerous, you're going to create a reality where it feels quite literally true that that dog is dangerous. And your body is going to respond to that. So what I am trying to get at is that selling works the same exact way. What you think about selling will always matter more than the strategy itself. And that's a bold statement coming from myself as someone who really does feel like and is regularly labeled the strategy queen. My brain works in strategies and blueprints, and I am most certainly more of a strategic advisor than I am any sort of mindset coach or mentor. But it is quite simply the truth that what you think about selling will always determine how effective your strategy is. And it's something that I have learned personally for myself over a decade of being in business for myself, but also working with hundreds of entrepreneurs. No matter how great our strategy is, if your being feels like it needs to protect itself, hide itself away from something that feels uncomfortable, that feels dangerous, that feels manipulative, insert whatever adjective that is, your body is going to find ways to protect itself. You're going to delay, avoid, you're going to have all of these symptoms that come up based on what you believe about selling. So what you believe about selling is ultimately propelling your sales or it's stalling them. And like I mentioned, almost every entrepreneur that I've worked with over the years has at one point in time carried one specific belief around selling that is simply a lie. And it is the reason that sales are low, slow, and unpredictable. And it's something that can be subtle and sneaky, and it's something that corrodes your business from the inside out. Are you ready? The number one lie that is stalling sales is that selling is annoying. That if I am selling, I'm bothering people. If I am selling, I'm manipulating people. If I am selling, I am being inauthentic. And therefore, all of that lives underneath the umbrella of I'm just being annoying. I'm bothering people. This manifests in several different ways. It produces several, I would say, symptoms. And what I would encourage you to do is just take a moment to look at yourself and see if any of these are coming up in your business, in your sales process. But when this perception guides your sales process, it's at the foundation, it produces several things. The first thing is hesitation. You hesitate. And because you hesitate, sales are slow. And more than that, they're unpredictable because your pacing is unpredictable because you feel like you have to hesitate. If your brain is allocating its energy towards not being annoying, not bothering people, making sure that we're not stepping on any toes and we're essentially stepping around eggshells, it is going to have a hard time actively selling and facilitating on a true sales process because you are spending and consuming so much of your energy on managing that perception that you have of, I don't want to be annoying. I don't want to be annoying. So how would I do this in a way that's not going to annoy people? That requires hesitation because your brain is having to think through so many different steps and filter through those options before it takes an action. So if your priority is not being annoying and you think selling is annoying, you're always going to hesitate over creating actual opportunities. And that can be if you are at a networking event, if you are in the grocery store, if you are creating content online, promoting online, there will be some level of hesitation because you are in protection mode. You have your walls up, your defenses up. You're trying to protect yourself from what other people will think about you at the end of the day. You're so consumed by what other people are going to think about you that you hesitate and you slow the process down. And I think it's important for me to mention what type of selling I'm talking about here. Because in our world today, there's a lot of ways that you can sell, right? But what I'm talking about is actually implementing a sales process where you are creating opportunities, you're finding new potential clients, you're nurturing relationships, fostering relationships with people, and you are pitching people. You're inviting people to work with you. So I'm not talking about the type of selling that says, I'm going to create some content for Instagram and then that's going to sell for me. That is actually a manifestation of us not wanting to take full responsibility of our sales process. And a lot of times we'll say, well, I just don't have the time because we're so consumed in creating content, when quite literally, sales is the most direct path to cash flow, and cash flow is the lifeblood to our business. But somehow we make excuses and we say, well, I just don't have time for that. I don't have time to go talk to people. I just need my content to do that for me. So we spend 80% of our time creating content because ultimately we want to avoid selling. Ultimately, we want to avoid speaking, making eye contact, talking to another individual, putting ourselves out on a limb to say, hey, I think I can help you. Could I share a little bit about that? Are you open to hearing more? There's a very simple way to pitch people that is not based on pressure, but it's actually an invitation. And that's what I teach our students. We're not cold messaging a bunch of people around here. We're building relationships and inviting people to be served. That's what it is. But that's the perspective shift for someone today. Maybe your sales are stalling because you're not really selling. You're just creating. And you're hoping that people will come. And although there is an element of truth to the statement that you can create it and people will come, there's also so much freedom to be found in having a process that you can rely on to sell. Because the market is going to ebb and flow. The economy is going to ebb and flow. Buyer behavior is going to change. And therefore, that's going to change what performs from a marketing perspective, a content perspective. And there's a lot of problem solving that happens in that arena. And the same is true for selling. But one thing is for sure, you definitely have more control when you are speaking to another human being one-to-one than when you put up a post on a platform where the algorithm is ever changing. It's just the simple truth of the matter. You can create more predictability in your sales process, specifically with your high ticket offers, if you implement a direct outbound marketing strategy. So for someone here, the takeaway is create less and go sell more. You're a business owner. You're not an influencer. And you have to approach your business, your content, and your sales process entirely differently than an influencer. And that's not a knock on influencers. That's just saying that there's a difference. And too many business owners have become influencers. We've taken on the role of content creator instead of business owner. Your job is not to create content 80% of the time. It is to bring solutions to the market. That's how you make money. That's how you serve people. And your content is a part of the larger ecosystem, but it is not the ecosystem. It is not the strategy. We need to stop obsessing so much over content and master selling and speaking to other human beings. Because when you can do that well, here's what I'll tell you. You will be able to take so much of that organic selling and replicate it in a content strategy because you know intimately, you understand your people intimately. You know how to sell to them because you know them. It's so much easier to get to know someone sitting across from them at a table in a coffee shop than it is to post and look at data. And the same is true when you're selling. When you learn how to sell well to individual human beings in front of you, and you intentionally listen to them, observe them, you hear them, you do gather data, that becomes the bedrock of an effective marketing strategy. But everyone wants to skip this because we want the masses and the volume, and we want things to be easy. We want the easy way out. We want to just go have fun creating and posting and going viral, and we don't actually want to see people because it is less comfortable. It's less comfortable to sit across from a human being, to be seen, to see them, than it is to curate something and put it online. Whew, we done got way off my outline, but you know that's how you know it's a good one. So let's get back on track here. So the second thing that happens when your perception around selling is that you're annoying people is you start people pleasing. It may sound harsh, but some of you are more committed to pleasing people than you are serving them. And it's derailing your entire sales process. In fact, it's likely why you say that you don't like selling. It may be why you hesitate to sell. It may be why you're not selling at all. Because when you're so committed to pleasing people, what's really happening is that you're making selling about you. You're making it about what it has to say about you, what people think about you, how great or not great they think you are. If you need to be seen a certain way, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, you probably don't want to be in entrepreneurship, and you definitely don't want to go sell, and you definitely don't want to go put content online, because everyone is going to have something to say about you, whether it's good or bad. And if you need everyone to think highly of you, this path is not for you. Building something is not for you. Selling is not for you. Not everyone's going to like you, and it is not your responsibility to manage perception. It is your responsibility to serve people. And you know what? Sometimes serving people means that you're going to offend them. Sometimes serving people means that you're going to say the thing that they don't want to hear, but it's the thing they need to hear. If you are all tore up about people that don't like you, people that have something to say about what you have to say, people that want to spread lies and rumors, people that want to judge you, then we might as well just stop this conversation here. And I say this with love and empathy, coming from someone who has struggled with an obsession of managing perception, with an obsession with what people think about me. Those were some of my darkest days. Those were some of my most anxiety-filled days where I was literally having hot flashes. I was breaking out in hives. I had a lump in my throat all day for no reason because I was so consumed with what people thought about me. And it's really hard to run a business, to stay in business, to scale a business when all you're thinking about is what people think of you. Forget selling. Just staying in business is hard enough. Because you're fixated on how other people are perceiving you, your sales process is more about looking good than it is about bringing solutions. And that, over time, creates such a misalignment within yourself. You can do it for a while. You can put on a performance, you can keep up the show, but eventually you will feel like a fraud because you've made yourself a fraud. Because you're putting on a performance to please people. You are over-exaggerating. You're saying what people want you to say, and at the end of the day, that is inauthentic. So you're going to feel misaligned about that. And this is the cold, hard truth behind why a lot of people don't like selling, because they're putting on a show. They're performing when they're selling, and something about that feels wrong in their spirit. And they say, I'm just not good at selling. They say, well, I just don't like selling. I'm a creative. But at the end of the day, you're not being yourself. You're overcomplicating the process to please that person in front of you, and that feels off in your spirit. So stop doing it. Don't make selling about yourself. Make it about the person in front of you. The third thing that happens when this perception guides your sales process is avoidance. Maybe you avoid selling altogether. You're so uncomfortable with selling that you just have decided, I'm not going to do it. And what that means is that you don't really have a sales process. You have a reactionary state that you're operating in. You're relying on hoping, waiting, and wishing in order for your sales to flow. But the truth is that referrals are not a sales strategy. Your partner network is not a strategy. Content is not a sales strategy. All of those things can be a part of your larger sales ecosystem, but they're not a direct sales strategy. You have to wait for referrals. You have to rely on other people to speak for you for those sales to come in. Content, although a part of your sales strategy, cannot be the only way in which you sell. Like I said, algorithms are changing all the time, and there's so much volatility to social media. It is something that is not as predictable as we want it to be when we're talking about the very thing that leads to cash flow, which is the lifeblood of your business. Far too many people are creating content and saying that they're selling, and that's just not true. Selling is speaking to another human being. Selling is going out of your way to find people that you can serve. Selling is having an organized process, a CRM with contacts, names of people that you know their name, their face, their business. You know details about maybe when they're launching, a life event that's coming up, maybe they're getting married, maybe they're having a baby. You are mindful about these relationships and you know over time how you can serve them, and you are not afraid to tell them. You're not afraid to offer it. That is selling, not posting online and hoping it goes viral, not posting online and hoping that your potential client will see it. That's avoidance. That's fear of being seen by people and seeing them in return. Selling isn't annoying. Self-centered selling is annoying. That is rooted in manipulation. That is rooted in applying pressure. That is where you're talking more than you're listening. Very simply put, selling is annoying when you make it about you. When you make the outcome say something about who you are, how valuable you are, how worthy you are. But selling in itself is not annoying. Selling by nature is an exchange of value. Selling is giving someone something that they need desperately, deeply. How is that annoying? And if you're someone who came into this video feeling like selling is annoying, I hope that by this point you can see that selling was never the problem. It was your perception around selling that was the problem. So the question isn't, how do I not be annoying when I'm selling? How do I not come across as pushy when I'm selling? That's not it. The question is, are you making the sales process about you? Or are you making it about your customer? If it's about them, if your heart is genuinely fixated on serving them, it's not annoying. And how someone receives your sales process is out of your hands. So let it go. Stop clenching and clinging so tightly to what people will think. Let it go. You can't control it anyway. All you can do is seek to serve, bring what you have, and let the person in front of you have their own experience. Decide what they think about it. Because at the end of the day, you never had control over that anyways. So my challenge to you today is this. Go move, go sell. And more specifically, I want you to invite 3 people that are already in front of you to learn more about working with you. Because you know what the beautiful thing is. The more you do something, the more reps you put in, the stronger you become, the more confident you become, the easier that it feels. So yes, there was a time where I struggled with all of these things. I was hesitation in itself. I hesitated every day. I people pleased. I avoided. I've done it all. But the beautiful thing is that if you will just adjust your heart posture, again, if you will make selling about the person in front of you, you can bypass that. You might still feel uncomfortable. You might feel some sensations in your body because you are putting yourself in an environment that you're not used to. So sensations in your body are normal. If you are sweating, if you feel, nerves in your stomach, that is okay. That doesn't mean that you're being inauthentic. That doesn't mean that you're being fake. As long as your heart is postured to serve, then you're just moving through uncomfortable sensations. That's all that it is. It doesn't have to mean anything more than that, but you can bypass the hesitation, the people-pleasing, the avoidance, as long as your heart is fixated on serving. So I encourage you, go invite someone to learn more about working with you. Continually put yourself in an environment where you are selling, where you are fostering relationships, where you are inviting people to work with you. And the more that you do it, the easier it will get. The more that you do it, the stronger you'll get. And from here, you have 2 things that you can do next. First, you can take our sales quiz, and this is going to reveal the unique way that you were designed to sell, because we're all different. We all have different forms of communication. So how can you leverage the way that you are uniquely wired in order to effectively sell and turn relationships into predictable revenue? Take the quiz. I'll send you a private audio with your type and some next steps for you to implement. Now, the second thing that you can do for all of my overachievers, you can join Sales Stewardship. This is our all-in-one sales platform that helps you turn relationships into revenue on repeat. It's not just information, it's not just education, it's also a software component. So for those of you that feel like you need a system to keep you organized, a CRM where you actually understand your pipeline, you know how to move someone from a new contact to a sale, this is going to be so immensely valuable for you. You can click in the description box below, learn more about sales stewardship, but I encourage you take at least one action today, put in some reps, do something, move, and selling will get easier and momentum will take off. Opposition, you ain't got nothing on me. I wish I could rap so I could do it right now and I can make a cool sound, but I can't. Cheers.